How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. We're going to be talking about Drag Me to Hell. The film tells the story of a lone officer who evicts an old woman from her home to find herself the recipient of a supernatural curse. Desperate for help, she turns to a seer to try and save her soul, while evil forces work to push her to a breaking point. Now, I remember this movie growing up, but I have never seen it. Up until this point, I had only seen the ending of the movie. By this point, I had no idea that whenever Justin Long was attached to a horror movie, the chances of him dying are pretty much the same as Sean Bean dying in any movie that he's in. But that wasn't the case for this movie. So I had already known what the ending of this movie was going to be, but I had never seen the entire movie up until now. And boy, was I really surprised. I believe that up to this point, this was the first time that Sam Raimi had directed anything outside of the Spider-Man films for a while. So seeing him go back to his horror roots, that was pretty nice. Plus, I really like the cast that we have here between Alison Lohman and Justin Long, and I thought their chemistry worked pretty well. The story around this movie is probably going to be divisive amongst a lot of people because the story here is it's not the best, but it pushes the plot forward. Plus, it also gives us some pretty decent scares that I think were pretty effective. The whole idea that this film revolves around a lone officer that gets cursed because she was going to evict an old lady's home, I don't think a lot of people will jive with. I think a lot of people will probably think that this is a really plain plot point. Anytime you have a horror movie that doesn't have the strongest plot point, or a comedy or an action, as long as you're able to get invested in these characters and there's some decent things around this plot, then everything else can be forgiven, and that's exactly what you get with Drag Me to Hell. I think some of the creative scares in here are pretty well done, and the thing that I really love about this movie, and I think what Sam Raimi does pretty well with his horror movies, especially when it comes down to like the Evil Dead films, is that he knows how to build suspense and tension where it doesn't feel like it's being faked out to for anything else. There's always a point to these scares, and whenever he's able to craft such wonderful jump scares that even though there's sometimes here and there a loud thud, you will get those moments where it feels really effective and it works for the story that they are telling. That's exactly what happens with Drag Me to Hell. I think every single scare that is crafted in this movie is pretty well done, especially when it comes down to the practical effects, because that is something that Sam Raimi really does really well with his horror movies, and that is basically from his roots, starting off with the Evil Dead films. Even though some of those movies don't hold up now, you can definitely see where he used a lot of the practical effects in order for him to make it very effective and fun. And that's exactly what he does with this movie. The practical effects in this movie look pretty well done, that it makes it really effective, so that whenever a scare happens, then it doesn't feel like a fake out and it actually works. Some of those visual effects here and there still hold up 15 years later. The thing that I really enjoyed and appreciate about this movie is the fact that you have these two characters that are trying to go on this journey, and you have Justin Long as the boyfriend. The thing that I really loved and appreciated about this movie is the fact that they don't make him out to be an asshole or somebody that tries to drag Christine down. They make him really sympathetic, and you really enjoy seeing these two characters together. Why Justin Long isn't a bigger name than he is now is going to be a mystery that I will never be able to solve, because I think he is just absolutely fantastic whenever he shows up. I have never seen a performance from him where he's always phoning it in. He's always locked into every single project, whether the project turns out to be great or not. He's always locked in 100%, and that's exactly what you get with him in here. It does get a little bit overly campy towards the end of the film. I think towards the last 20 to 30 minutes of the film, it gets overly campy, which I really enjoyed because I got a couple of chuckles out of there, especially when you have Alison Lohman throwing a couple of one-liners here and there. I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy it, but I came out really smiling. Overall, this is a movie that I think is effective in what it's trying to do. While the story isn't the strongest suit for this, I think it does well with what they're trying to do. The jump scares are effective. The visual effects hold up 15 years later, and overall, this is a movie that is worth checking out just so you can have a couple of scares here and there. But those are my thoughts on Drag Me to Hell. Have you guys checked it out? Is this a movie that you enjoy, or is this a movie that you absolutely hate? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys for the next video.